Uh, the CBO records Fannie and Freddie in budget and uses fair value accounting to measure the financial impact of the two GSEs. Moreover, not only does the CBO consider Fannie and Freddie as federal government entities, but it also mortgages they guarantee as obligations of the government, scoring them on a market risk adjusted present value basis. Do you agree with this budgetary treatment?
It's important that we take into account in our budgetary planning the costs and the prospective costs of Fannie and Freddie. Now, there are different ways to do that. As I understand it, the Fannie and Freddie are not fully consolidated with the federal budget, and that's a decision that's been made to try to keep some separation between the government and those two institutions. But clearly, as we think about our budgetary situation, the costs that have already been incurred and may still be incurred for Fannie and Freddie are obviously something important to keep in mind.
The Fed's been the biggest buyer of treasuries over the last several months, and reports are that the Fed has now surpassed China as the biggest owner of treasuries. Does that distort the bond markets and create dependency, and is this something that the Fed should be worried about?
We've been very careful to not distort the bond market. We've paid a lot of attention to that issue. We've monitored the market function. We've made sure that we don't own too high a fraction of any particular issue of government bonds. And our clear sense is that the Treasury markets are functioning very normally, very liquid, and we don't see our policy, which again is a temporary policy, as creating any particular problems for the market itself.
There have, Mr. Chairman, there have been discussions out there in the newspapers and whatnot, other countries talking about pegging oil and whatnot to something other than the dollar. What type of concern do you have about this? Do you see this as a reality or just
there's not the price, sorry, the currency in which goods is really of not much consequence. Another question, though, a broader question, is what currency is the reserve currency, the currency that countries hold their international reserves in. And the fact is that the U.S. dollar's share of 60% plus has been pretty stable, and I really don't see much likely change in that. In fact, lately, given the problems of the euro, et cetera, the dollar and the prospective growth in the U.S. economy, the dollar has actually been looking a little bit more attractive relative to some of the other currencies in the world.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yield back.
Ms. McCollum.
Thank you, Mr.